Hi, welcome to my channel, Reader Woman. My name's Judy, and let's talk Queen's Gambit. This was a book that chose me rather than me choosing it. I remember, even before I knew there was a book, my brother, we share a house together, and he was watching it, and it came out, let's see here, the miniseries came out in October of 2020. So, it took me a while to watch it. You know, I watched it a little bit over his shoulder. It was about a young child in an orphanage, and then chess, and I was like, I don't know. I think I'll pass. You know, as I've said before on this comeback attempt, I need comedy. I need light things, and that didn't seem very light to me. And then my best friend was like, oh my gosh, you've got to watch it. I've seen it twice. It's wonderful. She was like, her or somebody else said, yeah, it's humorous. And anyways, so I knew about the mini-series. I didn't realize it was based on a book. And so in December, my best friend and I were sitting down at our local bookstore, and we're just chatting. I was doing a little drawing, she was doing a little writing, and we looked over almost together and saw this poster for the Queen's Gambit, a dinner, a special dinner. And so I thought, oh, that would be interesting, because they were calling it like a book club. I don't know about you, but I haven't been going to any book clubs lately, and I was like, oh, that sounds fun. And she was like, oh my gosh, we got to get tickets. And then I looked at the price and I was like, I don't know that we're going to do that. And then she bought it for my Christmas present. So we ended up going. And I know you can't see it, but this was the menu. And so they had 5 courses, 4 of which had food, but they all had alcohol. My small book club that I had here in town, we didn't drink even water. So it was the first time alcohol and books were related in my mind. And it was a great time. It was a great night. But I only had I didn't think she was able to get tickets. I thought they were sold out. And so she let me know on a Monday afternoon that we were going, and come to find out we were going on Wednesday. And I'm like, well, should I try to read the book? Should I? So I decided to start the mini-series first. And so I had I don't know, 3 or 4 episodes of the mini-series under my belt before going to this dinner. And if I hadn't made an ass of myself at the dinner, I don't know if I would have read the book. But I did. There were 30 people, and we had a moderator from our local university, and which was great, you know. Somebody else came up with all the questions, you know. And I don't know, about 2/3 of the way through, the question was about secondary characters and how they related. And, you know, in the mini-series, Jolene is a very, I won't say sympathetic, but she was a great character. She was basically Beth Harmon's only friend. So, so the question was asked, you know, how important were the secondary characters? And I raised my hand, and I'm like, well, you know, I felt that Jolene was very important because she was Beth Harmon's only friend in the whole, you know, world. And you know, I was just like, and the moderator was like, okay, yeah. And then somebody else spoke up, and they were like, yeah, you know, I heard from a friend who read the book that that was where it was quite different. So in the book, Jolene was a sexual predator against Beth, and it was just like, I was like, oh my God, what did I say? I said it. So at that point, I hadn't even finished the mini-series, and yeah, the book, I suddenly became, okay, you got to read the book, Judy. And I'm really glad I did. I don't know about you, and if you've seen the miniseries, at the dinner, I would say the majority of us had only seen the miniseries. And me had only seen like a portion of the miniseries, but I got the feeling that most of the people at the dinner had not read the book. There were some who just had read the book. So it was kind of a mixed bag. There were 30 of us. And so, I was really shocked because I did do a hair of research before the dinner. And Walter Tevis had written this in 1983. I was quite surprised at how old the book was for some reason. And particularly then being written in 83, and then he set it in like the 60s, basically. And I found that interesting. Late 50s, early 60s, or well, really almost towards the end of the 60s. I really liked the book. I liked the miniseries on its own. On its own merits, I thought the miniseries did a good job. I thought it did a great job until I read the book. And there is where I began to have some problems. Also, just a little bit of background on Walter Tevis. I was really shocked at this one. But he wrote The Hustler and The Color of Money. And also The Man Who Fell to Earth. I found his writing to be very spare. He would stop at critical moments and just leave you hanging until you had to go to another paragraph or change a page. He was very, very detailed on the chess matches. And I was quite happy to read also that he was actually quite good at chess himself. He wasn't a grand master, but he was definitely somebody who had a class assigned to his chess playing. Because for me, I understood nothing. I mean, my dad taught me how to play chess as a kid, and that was about it. I know how to make the moves for each of the different pieces. I know how a knight moves and all the rest of it, but at the same token, I never strategized or learned much of anything beyond that. And I should have started off with this. If you haven't seen or read anything about the Queen's Gambit and you want to be surprised, this video is not for you. I am just talking plot and the differences between the two. That's what this video is about. And I liked the book better than the miniseries. I thought that Anya Taylor-Joy did a beautiful job until I read the book. For whatever reason, the miniseries wrote her as this super confident genius. And in the book, she wasn't as confident. She had, I mean, of course, both were dealing with the fact that once she became inmate at this orphanage, that, as a young child, 8 or 9, 10 years old, they're feeding her tranquilizers. They're feeding all the children tranquilizers to keep them quiet, and which is horrible. Walter Tevis, he had a stint, I don't think it was an orphanage, but a hospital where as a young child, he had a health issue, and he was given tranquilizers. This was just something, I think, in the late 50s, early 60s, that was done to children in institutions. So he was writing from direct knowledge about addiction at a young age. I think that that was probably the first thing that struck me about the differences between the book and the miniseries, was how the character of Beth Harmon was dealt with. You know, in the book, you see Beth developing as a person. You see her using first drugs and then later alcohol to deal with life and to deal with the tragedy that life gives us all. She overcame a lot. And in the miniseries, you just didn't, I don't know, I didn't get that sense of growth. And I loved in the book that when she actually did reach out to Jolene again, her only friend, even though Jolene, yes, had attempted to sexually molest her at one time in the book. And I'm not going to get into it, but I have to say, sexuality with children is still a pretty taboo subject, and I am no expert. Jolene was trying to make Beth do something that Beth didn't want to do. Ultimately, she had to stop. Would she have stopped on her own? I don't think so. It's just, she might have been caught. But at least in the book, she wasn't a predator in the sense of over and over and over again. And in fact, they found a way beyond that to connect as equals. And so in the book, it still was not surprising that she reached out to Jolene when suddenly alcohol just had taken over her life and she needed help to get out of that. And I thought that, unlike the miniseries, exercise, taking care of yourself. That was Jolene's message, you know. It wasn't like, oh, I'm going to save you, or I'm going to be here until you kick this addiction, you know, because nobody can be there for somebody else 24/7. You know, we have to deal with our own demons. So I really liked the fact in the book that Beth Harmon was able to find that strength in herself through moving her body and focusing on other things. Let's see here. Then, one of my major complaints about the differences has to do with the Paris tournament, where Beth, I believe she deals with, gosh, I always want to get his name wrong, Borgoff, the Russian. I think that's her second time. Yeah, I didn't write it down. Borgoff. It was the second time she had gone to play him. Now, in both the movie and the book, she had spent, I don't know, a month with Benny, the prior Grandmaster of the U.S., champion for chess. And I thought that in the book it was so powerful because she had spent all this time studying. She had given it her all. I mean, she wasn't drinking, she wasn't using drugs, she was trying to up her game, and she had actually upped her game, if you think about it, because she had played that, I don't know, that quick chess against Benny and had lost $5 at a time over and over and over again. And suddenly she was playing against three major chess players, quick games, and she was winning time after time after time after time. And so she goes to Paris at really the top of her game, ready to take on Borgoff. She loses. She loses. That day, she was not good enough. And that happens. Every sport, every attempt, I mean, when you're playing against somebody else, there are just days the other person's better than you are. And I so admired that in the book. I really did. And then to be so pissed off and felt like it was a contemptible ripoff of that moment in the miniseries where she had been led astray by this woman she'd met in New York. And, you know, you were almost like, what the heck, you know? Losing is not the end of the world. Losing is just something you have to, we go through in life, and you have to learn to bounce back. You have to find the resiliency in yourself. And I really felt that the miniseries went wrong on that. And I thought it went wrong in a very harmful way. I mean, if we're going to learn lessons from our literature and our, you know, motion literature, whatever, you know, the movies, miniseries, however you want to call it, we need to see the losing and take honor and acknowledge it. And so that was one aspect between the two that I really didn't like. And I thought that the ending, I don't know why. I mean, I know in the book she had mentioned this D.L. Towns. He was the gorgeous looking guy that she beat at the first tournament she went to. And yeah, he was gorgeous, but it's like, you know, and she was, you know, dating, having sex with guys that were not as handsome as he was. But I don't know why he had to show up in Russia in the miniseries, because he most certainly didn't in the book. And yeah, I didn't quite get that. And reading a little bit about it online, he was actually supposed to be a gay character. You know, the fact that Benny got over his anger with her in order to call her and help her be prepared going back into that game the next day, that was amazing in and of itself. So yeah, I really liked the book. Highly recommend it. Miniseries, I highly recommend it. But yeah, I think it just went wrong on several levels. And I also wonder too what the heck they're going to do with season 2. A couple of poignant things from both the book and the miniseries. I thought the character of Mrs. Wheatley was very well done. Very well done. I loved it. I thought that, you know, it was interesting too, because not all of it, but probably 80% of Mrs. Wheatley's speech, the words coming out of her mouth, were exactly what was in the book. There were just a few times that it didn't match up, which I found that interesting. And in the miniseries, I thought that they captured that time so well. In fact, her robe, her night robe that she wore, I felt like, oh my gosh, my mom wore that robe, is how I felt after seeing it. I mean, they really got the texture, the feel of the late 60s very, very well. You know, the other question was that I can't remember who said what, but about child prodigies. And that question of, you know, somebody puts it out there to her, yeah, you're too old now to be considered a prodigy. You know, I think she was like 16 at the time. And then when she was playing in Mexico City against the young Russian boy of, you know, he was like 13 or something, and they were talking about the game and all this, and she's like, well, what are you going to do after? And he's like, after, you know, and I think that was the real question. What was she going to do after? Well, I will leave it at here, and we'll be back with some more bookish thoughts. Take care. See you later. Bye.